Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of June 14th, 2026. First, I want to let you know that I am having a webinar, Reframing the Vision, with my astro besties, Sarah L. Harar and Tiffany Harelik. Every year we do a forecast for the whole year, and this year is so big, we decided to come together again on June 30th at noon Pacific time. If you can't make it live, you will get the recording. We'll reflect on what's happened so far and what's up ahead, including Jupiter entering Leo, Chiron and Taurus, the Aquarius, Leo eclipse stories that are coming up, the Mercury-Venus retrogrades. So the rest of this year is a lot with big energies that we can use to our benefit. The link is in the show notes, as well as you can go to astrologybyceleste.com and sign up there on the upcoming events page. The theme of this week is notes on a scandal, and there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that today we have a new moon at 24 degrees of Gemini. Gemini is a sign of communication, media, transportation, paperwork of all kinds, the mail, children, and early education. It's represented by the twins in the zodiac. And one of the defining themes of this lunation is likely going to be competing narratives. We can see two very different versions of the same story playing out simultaneous, like in the movie Rashomon. The questions that can come up: who is telling the truth? What information is missing? And what narrative wins, whether it's true or not? We're already seeing the symbolism emerge. Gemini is also the reporter. The White House began calling out media figures, and lists are being published categorizing claims as lies, omissions of context, or what they describe in writing as left-wing lunacy. It's about information, messaging, the media. Some of these journalists who are being called out are taking this as a badge of honor, like Rick Wilson, known for the Lincoln Project. There are questions coming up about the First Amendment and media independence. And this is an ongoing story which may have some big events during the Gemini lunation. When set for Washington, D.C., this new moon falls in the fifth house, the house of recreation, sports, entertainment, children, youth culture, and public spectacle. The World Cup is underway, so that makes perfect sense. This big recreation event bringing global attention to sports, as well as international travel, and transportation is a Gemini theme. There's also, at the time I'm recording this on June 9th, plans are moving forward for a mixed martial arts events on the White House grounds as part of the president's birthday and America's 250th anniversary celebration. Lawsuits have been filed alleging misuse of public resources and questioning whether government property should be used for private entertainment events. Dana White, who's the host of this, is selling tickets, so making money off being able to host this event on the White House property. Now, no matter whether it goes forward or whether they're able to stop it, it is a perfect expression of the fifth house new moon. And Mercury rules this new moon, and it is in Cancer and a semi-square with Uranus in Gemini. And because of the upcoming Mercury retrogrades, we're in the shadow period. So stories coming up now will have 3 parts potentially as Mercury hightails it in reverse and then back and forward. Mercury governs ballots, paperwork, mail systems, and information. Uranus is associated with surprises, disruptions, reversals, and in mundane astrology, elections. And so one of the biggest stories of this cycle may be the California politics, particularly the Los Angeles mayor's race. Spencer Pratt, this celebrity, appeared to be in second place on election night. But California election system relies heavily on mail-in voting. And many Californians, including myself, vote by mail, and ballots that are mailed before election day can be counted even though they arrive after the election day. This is the rules in California. And there's 30 days for certification. And that deadline falls on July 2nd, where the election has to be certified. And then on July 3rd in California and July 4th in the East Coast, Mars and Uranus meet in Gemini. Mars-Uranus conjunctions are explosive. Mars competes, Uranus rules elections, and when they come together, we often see shocks, disruptions, challenges, protests, legal battles, unexpected developments. Last time they met on Algol and Taurus, the president was shot at in an attempted assassination. I recorded a video on my YouTube about this LA mayor's race, looking at the astrology, talking about how Spencer Pratt, whose sun is at 21 Leo and is going to be eclipsed on August 12th, is a symbol of the upcoming nodal switch into North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo. The people versus the elites. So I would not be surprised if challenges to the election results becomes a major story, not just in California, but taken on a national level, because the president with no evidence on Meet the Press accused California of election corruption. Now, there are legal avenues for Spencer Pratt to object, and if something was done that was untoward, it should be corrected. But LA is one of the most progressive cities in the country, so it's no surprise he is not in the top 2. We're also watching to see what develops in the California governor's race. Steve Hilton, the GOP candidate, is in the top 2 currently, but Tom Steyer is catching up. But whatever is happening now, the story may not be finished because Mercury will be retrograde on July 2nd, the day that the ballots are due to be certified. Chiron's also at 29 Aries at this new moon, and the new moon forms a supportive sextile with Chiron. So there can be stories emerging about identity and opportunity for healing unresolved wounds. That could be a new moon intention setting thing where you journal every day for this cycle. New moons are times to set intentions and work them throughout the cycle. The new moon also unfolds against the backdrop of the president's solar return this year. Now, his solar return, when the sun comes back to where he was when he was born, is on the 13th, even though he's born on the 14th. Your solar return can happen on the day of your birthday, one day before, or one day after every year. Now, his solar return contains a balsamic moon, which is associated with endings, completion, and winding down the cycle. At the same time, when you set it at his birthplace, It's a Sagittarius, 2 degrees Sagittarius rising, and Uranus in Gemini is at 2 degrees of Gemini opposite him. So he's got all this stress and upheaval coming from it outside of himself. Uranus is squaring the nodes. So this is a very karmic crossroads, significant pressure in his chart, symbolizing disruption, unpredictability, mental agitation, continued instability. Their big questions are going to continue to come up about his vitality and stamina. The balsamic moon phase indicates a leaking of the energy, a weakness, his continued reduction of his vitality and stamina. Each new moon starts a new moon phase family, which is a 27-month cycle where something is seeded at the new moon. And every 9 months, there is an activation when the moon comes back to approximately that same point, but the sun is advancing. So there are pivots in different parts of the story. The new moon, where the sun and the moon are both at 24 degrees of Gemini, is June 14th, 2026. 9 months from now, there'll be a first quarter moon where the sun is in Pisces and the moon is in Gemini on March 15th, 2027 at 24 degrees of Gemini. So say you started writing a book now, maybe in 9 months, you send it off to an editor, perhaps at the full moon where the sun is in Sagittarius, a sign of publishing, and the moon is in Gemini, both at 21 degrees on December 13th, 2027. That's when the publication date is announced. And maybe at the last quarter moon where the sun is in Virgo and the moon is in Gemini at September 11th, 2028, they're both at 19 degrees. Maybe that's when the critics start writing their evaluations of the book. Notice these are dates you can use to plan ahead about where do you want to be in your bigger goals. You could also watch to see what unfolds, especially if you have anything from 19 to 25 degrees of Gemini. The 2026 Lunar Planning Guide is a digital, fillable guide that walks you through each moon cycle with themes, major transits, and journal prompts so that you can stay aligned with the energy. And beyond the moon, it includes all the key astrology for the year, the retrograde, sign changes, and major planetary events that shape the collective story. If you're looking for a clear, practical way to stay organized and grounded, this will help you track your intentions and make sense of the shifting energies in 2026. It's only $22 and the link is in the show notes. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Venus is the star of the show this week. Venus in Leo wants to be seen, show up, and show out. This is glamour, romance, performance, luxury, celebrity culture, and dramatic displays of affection. The first thing Venus is going to do this week is make a quincunx to the North Node in Pisces at 2 degrees. Quincunxes are that 150-degree aspect, the blind spot aspect. They require adjustment, where we have to release something, adapt, or acknowledge that two things don't naturally fit together. They're signs that are different modes, elements, and polarities. Now, the North Node has associations with groups. So if you get an invitation to do something with a group, you may be going back and forth. Do I want to do this? Could be something that's happening on a personal level, and you've got to adjust or give up something to do it. On the same day, this is Monday, Venus sextiles Uranus in Gemini, both at 2 degrees. Uranus brings surprises, reversals, shocks. And because it's in Gemini, there may be stories involving media reporters, or information networks. This could be a celebrity surprise, a relationship announcement, a sudden breakup. Maybe two people we had no idea were dating get married. Maybe someone's pregnant. Maybe someone's breaking up. There also could be big themes about sports and recreation. Gemini rules the hands, the wrists, all the way up through the shoulders, also the lungs. So notice if there are any big sporting events or public spectacles that have a Uranian nature to them. Like someone may do some big move at the World Cup where they're flipping around. They show amazing dexterity. Hopefully no one's going to hurt themselves. Be mindful on this day, like if you're playing tennis or pickleball or something, to be careful about twisting. Venus in Leo is also associated with fashion, beauty, luxury brands, and public image. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a big story about a fashion house, a model, or some big change or revelations in their relationship. And on Tuesday, Venus in Leo trines Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees. This is one of the most romantic aspects of the week. Trines remove all restrictions and allow the energy to flow freely. And Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, and this can be incredibly inspiring, artistic, compassionate, and romantic. This is the energy of grand gestures, love letters, 10 dozen roses, surprise proposals, sweeping declarations of affections. If you're single, consider practicing. Smile at a stranger, say hello. This can create beautiful encounters even if they only last a moment. Now, Neptune can blur realities and things cannot be as they appear. Enjoy the magic, but don't rush to conclusions. If you meet someone while we are in the shadow of Mercury retrograde, don't rush things. Let them unfold slowly. People show them who they are if you give them enough time. On Wednesday, Venus opposes Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees. This is where the temperature really rises. Venus opposite Pluto exposes power struggles in relationships, alliances, and partnerships. Secrets come to light. Hidden motives are revealed. Obsessions surface. Triangles can emerge, whether they're romantic, political, or economic. What is hidden may become very public in a dramatic fashion. Notice if you see financial disputes, public betrayals, contentious divorces, and conflicts between the elites and the broader public. 2 stories in the news that we're having really come to light are Mr. Wonderful trying to build this humongous data center in Utah, the Kushners trying to buy this Albanian island. It is on hold because the people are fighting back. There could be some other story, including Dana White and the president trying to have this event on White House grounds at the People's House. And taken together, all of these aspects, Venus is activating what I call the cosmic wedge, the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto configuration that's in the sky. It will remain an aspect for the rest of the decade. Uranus in Gemini is trine Pluto in Aquarius, and they both are sextiling Neptune in Aries, and they are in orb for the rest of the decade. And they are shaping our collective story. Uranus brings the surprise. Neptune brings the dream, the illusion, the inspiration, and Pluto brings the power struggle, the transformation. Pluto moves at the speed of a glacier, but it has an impact of a tsunami. And this is a very deeply Venusian week. If you meet someone under this Venus opposite Pluto, the attraction can be really intense, but it may not be simple. There can be power dynamics that come up, outside influences, family opinions, social differences, Competing loyalties may quickly reveal themselves. Now, every relationship has challenges. Maybe two fans from competing World Cup teams will meet in line for a beverage at the World Cup, fall in love. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Chiron enters the sign of Taurus on June 19th. This is one of the biggest and most important astrological shifts of 2026, but it's only a preview. Chiron moves into Taurus from June 19th through September 17th before retrograding back into Aries to finish business. It'll go all the way back to 26 Aries. So if you have anything at that last degrees of Aries or any cardinal signs, that story that you thought was over might not be over, but it goes back into Taurus April of 2027. And once it returns, it'll stay there till 2033. This is a major collective turning point. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. It's classified as a centaur object. It orbits between Saturn and Uranus. Astrologers often call it the Rainbow Bridge because it links Saturn, the last visible planet, to the naked eye and the tangible world, with Uranus, the great awakener that pushes us towards the future. In Greek mythology, Chiron was a healer, a teacher, a mentor. Unlike the other centaurs, he was wise and compassionate, yet he carried a wound that could never fully heal. His story began with rejection, and he was abandoned by his mother because he was born different. Chiron symbolizes in our own charts the place where we feel wounded, rejected, inadequate, or somehow different from others. And this chironic wound never disappears completely, but when we work with it consciously, it can be a source of wisdom, compassion, and healing for others. Now, we all have Chiron in our birth chart. The sign, house, and aspects describe the nature of our wound and the gift that emerges from working with it. So for the last several years, the Chiron's been moving through Aries, and now the focus shifts into Taurus, which governs resources, money, food, agriculture, security, self-worth, values, the earth, and the physical body. So over the next 7 years, humanity will be confronting deep questions about who has resources, who doesn't. How do we value ourselves? How do we care for the earth? Now, we always look to previous cycles. Chiron has a 50-year orbit, and the last time it traveled through Taurus was around 1977 to 83. And this period was marked by recession, stagflation, unemployment spikes, and economic instability. An earlier cycle happened around 1926 through 1934, and that was the time of the Great Depression. While history doesn't repeat exactly, it often rhymes, and Chiron in Taurus brings attention to vulnerabilities in economic systems, resource management, food production, and collective security. One of the stories I'm watching very closely is the screw worm outbreak, because I predicted that this would be a Chiron and Taurus story. This last year, we found out that the screwworm fly had becoming a concern in Mexico, and it directly affects livestock, particularly cattle, because it lays eggs in living tissue. And the economic impact extends far beyond agriculture because it affects food production, ranching, supply chains, and prices. Now, we've already heard, as Uranus is squaring the nodes, that this is a problem in the United States, in Texas. We're already seeing screwworms in cattle. So I don't think this story is going away anytime soon. In fact, it may be just the big initial story about how Chiron and Taurus is going to highlight vulnerabilities in the United States systems that are supposed to sustain us. Containment programs were canceled by the current administration. And so we're having a screwworm outbreak, which we haven't seen since the 60s. Now, this is just the beginning, and Chiron and Taurus is kind of a bummer because we know more people are going to lose jobs. We know there's going to be a big resource issues. Chiron will eventually oppose Pluto in Aquarius, amplifying the collective wound around resources, technology, and social structures. And then in 2028 and 2029, Chiron will meet Saturn in Taurus, and that's going to be a big story because that combination has correlated historically with periods of restructuring and difficult lessons around resources. The future of the dollar and the global financial system are going to become bigger and bigger parts of the conversation. Now, it's noteworthy that Chiron is entering Taurus on June 19th because Juneteenth is a commemoration of the day enslaved people in Texas learned that they had been legally freed years earlier. It is a holiday rooted in liberation, justice, delayed recognition, and collective healing. And it's striking because Chiron often exposes wounds that must be acknowledged before the healing can occur. I hope this timing is just symbolic. However, with Pluto in Aquarius continuing to expose divisions, group dynamics, and collective tensions, I encourage everyone attending large public events to really remain aware of their surroundings and prioritize safety. People could just get real nasty with each other, calling each other names, racially based, religious based names. Hateful stuff could be coming up with this energy. Also notice stories about the Earth itself, if there's some big story. Now, in terms of what this matters for you, look to where Taurus falls in your birth chart. The house that contains 0 degrees of Taurus, and Chiron will not pass 0 degrees, is just at that seeding degree, can show you where there's some healing journey beginning for you. If you have planets or angles right near 0 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, you'll likely feel this transit more strongly. So notice what is coming up inside you, especially related to self-esteem, self-worth. For those born in the late 70s to early 80s, your Chiron return is just beginning. This is one of the biggest life passages. Bring old wounds to the surface so they can be understood from a new perspective and more healing can happen. For many women, this period overlaps with menopause, becoming an empty nester, career reinvention, and profound questions about self-worth, purpose, and what truly matters. Chiron transits can be really uncomfortable because they expose what hurts, but they also offer an opportunity to gain more wisdom. Some questions you can ask yourself is, what truly makes me feel secure and what values do I want to build upon for the future? The theme of this week is Notes on a Scandal based on a movie starring Cate Blanchett and Judi Dench. This is an incredible movie. It centers on a seemingly close friendship between two women that slowly unravels into obsession, manipulation, betrayal, and public exposure. What begins as a private relationship becomes a very public scandal with competing narratives about who's telling the truth, who's the victim, and who's controlling the story. One of my greatest pleasures is mentoring astrology enthusiasts and professionals who want to deepen their craft. If you're building your skills or refining your approach, we can work together one-on-one to strengthen your chart interpretation, timing techniques, client readiness, and your confidence in putting it all together. You can schedule a single session or choose a mentoring package for ongoing guidance. Details are at astrologybyceleste.com on the services page. On Sunday, the word of the day is dexterity. We have a new moon at 24 Gemini at 7:53 p.m. Pacific time. New moons are times to set intention about what you're going to grow for the rest of the lunar cycle. If you don't already have it, consider getting the 2026 Lunar Planning Guide to help you move through this cycle. The link is in the show notes. Really notice Gemini is a sign that's a mutable air sign. Can you be flexible? Can you be dexterous? Notice this is a great day to do stretches that bring flexibility and mobility into your wrists, all the way up through your shoulders, or breathing exercises. The breath is one of the most powerful tools to manage any kind of anxiety which may be coming up during this cycle. On Monday, the word of the day is heartfelt. Venus in Leo will quincunx the North Node at 2 degrees. What adjustment needs to be made? Then the Cancer moon begins at 5:13 a.m. Pacific time. There can be a lot of chatter and then quiet when the moon moves from Gemini to Cancer, a water sign where the moon is at home and can do what it does with ease, which is feel. So if you'd been really intellectualizing, when the moon moves into Cancer, you can kind of start understanding how you really feel about something that was all about logic and intellect. And there is energy where Venus is quintile Mars, and these are grace notes. So there can be some really beautiful interactions between couples or partners, being able to get what you want, Mars, and collaborate Venus together in unique ways. The Cancer moon will square Neptune and Aries at 4 degrees for both signs. I get this as somebody being really mushy, laying it on thick, telling you, ooh, baby. Now, Venus in Leo will also sextile Uranus in Gemini at 2 degrees. This could be a big proposal of marriage. Venus sextile Uranus could be a lovely surprise. Sextiles are opportunities. Something may just drop into your lap that is a blessing or an opportunity. On Tuesday, the word of the day is devotion. I got the song "The Roof is on Fire" while I was recording this. Saturn, the planet of duties, discipline, hardships, constriction, is conjunct Vesta and Aries on this day at 13 degrees. Vesta is the asteroid of devotion. It has to do with sisterhood. The Vestal virgins kept the Roman fires burning. When it's activated in your chart, it can often be about moving homes or something to do with your house, or sisters. There's things about sisterhood. So you may be thinking about what you're really devoted or getting clarity. Saturn can get clarity, or deciding, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. Saturn can reject and exclude. The moon will meet Mercury in Cancer at 20 degrees. So this is wonderful for having heartfelt discussions with someone, talking about what you're devoted to, what you will do and what you won't do. And Venus and Leo is trying Neptune and Aries, both at 4 degrees. So this could be lovely energy. On Wednesday, the word of the day is kiss. The moon meets Jupiter at 27 degrees of Cancer. The moon is at home. Jupiter is exalted. This can be really beautiful energy for people who are feeling sentimental, connected, close. People may be feeling extremely patriotic or nationalistic with this energy. Cancer rules home and homeland. You may notice people hugging, jumping up and down around that have won games, maybe with the World Cup. The Leo moon begins at 5:04 a.m. Pacific time. This can be when people are extremely excited. Things can be dramatic. There's a very big different energy Wednesday than there was on Tuesday. And the moon meets Venus at 5 Leo. This is called a goddess day, when the moon and Venus, the feminine planetary energies, meet. A great day for a hug, a kiss, romance, all that good stuff. Now, later in the day, the moon will oppose Pluto at 5 degrees of Aquarius, so people can be in power struggles. Then Venus opposes Pluto at 5 degrees of Aquarius. So it'll be interesting to see how this shows up on the world stage, but this can be like a couple that was lovey-dovey 1 minute are screaming and yelling at each other in public the next minute. On Thursday, the word of the day is rumble. This is the day we have the waxing crescent moon at 12 Leo at 1:05 a.m. Pacific time. The waxing crescent moon is part of the moon cycle where you start to see the light of what story is evolving. The sun is in Gemini, the moon is in Leo. This is dynamic, exciting, communicative energy. Now, people may be really competitive, energized, angry, because the Leo moon will square Mars in Taurus at 23 degrees this day. So this can be people getting really stubborn, fixed in their opinions, and ready to rumble. On Friday, the word of the day is EJECT. The Virgo moon begins at 7:36 a.m. Pacific time and then meets the South Node. Virgo can critique. Virgo's job is to bring order to chaos, but it can get very perfectionistic and critical. And I hope it's not what happens, but I can see like people shouting racist stuff may be coming up on this day, as the Virgo moon squares Uranus at 3 Gemini. We shall see what comes up. This is Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth for all who celebrate it. But really notice who is ejected. The South Node, when the moon meets that South Node and then squares Uranus, this is chaotic energy. And then Chiron enters Taurus at 2:18 p.m. Pacific time and starts this journey. So Chiron moving from that 29th degree of Aries, a degree of crisis and decay. Aries can be literally fire or fighting. There'll be a big story in the collective. And then the Virgo moon forms a yod, which is a chart pattern where there's an apex planet, which will be the Virgo moon, which speaks to the people in the public mood. And at the base is Neptune in Aries on one side at 4 degrees and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 5 degrees on the other side. And they sextile each other. And this to me is like fans getting whipped up into a lather and being really critical of some kind of player, or people getting really into it with others. On Saturday, the word of the day is ugly. The Virgo moon makes a wide hammer of Thor with Chiron and Taurus at one side of the base and Pluto and Aquarius at the other. So the Virgo moon is sesqui-square Chiron and Taurus, and then Pluto and Aquarius. This is the last day of Gemini season, so the sun is at 29 Gemini, and there can be a spotlight on communication that is really critical, ugly. Maybe it's just about a lot of stuff coming out, secrets being revealed, but this feels there's some real nastiness that is going on between people. Notice what stories are coming to light. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.